This morning, U.S. troops have arrived in Israel to monitor a fragile ceasefire in Gaza. Officials say the troops will help with logistics and coordinate planning and security in the region as work to implement the next phase of the peace agreement gets underway. Officials stressing the 200 troops will not go into Gaza, where more than 24 hours into the ceasefire, the guns are still silent. This is an indescribable day, Ali Rihan says. Today the war has ended, God willing. And families displaced from their homes once again heading north, returning to what is left of their lives. But most of Gaza is in ruins. The UN says 92% of the buildings here have either been damaged or destroyed in the 2-year-long war. While in Israel, families of the 48 held hostage by Hamas anxiously wait to be reunited with their loved ones. 20 are believed to still be alive. Itzhak Horn's 2 sons were taken by Hamas. One has been returned, while the other is believed to be among the 20 living hostages. Horn telling our Ian panel that while he is happy, part of him remains unsure because, quote, I know who we are dealing with here. Officials signaling the release could happen at any time as the 72-hour deadline to release the hostages approaches. Israeli forces have partially withdrawn to the Yellow Line, making way for Hamas to begin the process of returning the hostages, both the living and the dead. Israel threatening to resume its heavy bombardment on the enclave if the hostages are not released by the deadline. President Trump now preparing to visit the region early next week, expected to meet with Israeli officials and later host a summit of world leaders in Egypt, marking the end of a vicious war that, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, has claimed the lives of more than 67,000 people in Gaza.
And this ceasefire calls for the immediate surge of humanitarian aid into Gaza. As UN-backed experts say, more than 500,000 Palestinians are starving. Now, that's something Israel denies. And Janae, so much is unknown about the future of this truce. One key question is whether Hamas will agree to disarm. Janae.
All so incredibly fragile, Marcus. Thank you for that update.
Panel is in Tel Aviv with the latest. Israeli authorities say aid is now moving into Gaza. What are you learning about that?
Yeah, that's right. We know a few hundred trucks actually crossed over yesterday on October the 9th, and more trucks appear to be going in right now. I think probably most significantly, apart from the fact that this is desperately needed, and they're going to need a lot more than that, it's back to the old aid delivery system, the one that Israel, with US backing, tried to abandon. It's the United Nations and the Red Crescent are essentially running it. Now, we're seeing images of one of those Gaza humanitarian Foundation aid sites having been abandoned. Remember, this was a system that was set up to try and bypass the UN. It was ostensibly an American company that was delivering it, and it was hugely controversial. Hundreds of people were killed around those sites, and we saw those desperate images of people trying to get aid. Well, it now appears that that's almost just been pushed to one side as this deal starts to move forward.
So what's it like there now that this ceasefire is in effect?
I mean, astonishing images, almost biblical images of thousands of people streaming up that coastal road through the dust and the desert with the sea on one side towards what is left of their homes, of their communities, of their country. And more images are now starting to emerge of the scale of destruction inside Gaza. Barely a building standing, and those that are heavily bomb damaged. The scale of destruction is immense. In some senses, Gaza, as we knew it, has gone. And it just underlines the importance and the huge need of reconstruction.
And Ian, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said this morning, and I'm quoting here, "We are gripping Hamas from all sides in preparation for the next stages of the plan." What does he mean by that? And what else stood out to you from his remarks?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he kind of said that despite, because of the massive military pressure and the massive political pressure from President Trump, that Hamas was forced to return all the hostages. I mean, it was Netanyahu trying to say that he was vindicated by the strategy that he had pursued, even though many hostage families would disagree vehemently with that. Yes, he said that Hamas is being squeezed from both sides in preparation for this next step. stage, the next stage being when Hamas will be disarmed and Gaza will be demilitarized, in his words. Now, this is an important quote. He said, if this is achieved the easy way, so be it. If not, it will be achieved the hard way. Clearly, a threat of a return to military action if Hamas doesn't comply. But already we're seeing that it's Hamas resuming charge in those areas, the Hamas police force taking control of the streets once again.
Ian Pannell, thank you. ABC News contributor and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, Mick Mulroy, has more on this. Hi, Mick. So the U.S. is sending about 200 troops to Israel to help support the ceasefire deal. But the White House says no U.S. troops are intended to go into Gaza. So how will that work?
So, Diane, likely they'll be part of the effort to get this large increase in humanitarian aid into Gaza under the 20-point plan. It's supposed to go back to the 600 trucks per day. All the food is available. It is in warehouses, but it will be a Herculean effort to get this started and going and flowing in, but it is very much needed. And I imagine these troops that are going in specialize in this. So logistics-based type forces. That could be very helpful to get this going. It's very much needed.
People in Gaza say Israel was still shelling even after the cabinet approved the ceasefire plan. What's the strategy there?
So when you withdraw as a military unit, it's a very tense time because you're vulnerable. You're leaving likely fortified positions and you're moving back, in this case, to this yellow line that they've agreed to. There's a lot of groups in Gaza. They're not all controlled by Hamas, and many of them could take the opportunity to attack the Israeli Defense Forces, which up until now were their enemy, or at least they viewed them that way. So there could be skirmishes going on, and of course, the IDF is going to defend themselves. So if that happens, you could see these skirmishes going on. It will look, of course, like combat operations because it is, but it doesn't necessarily mean the ceasefire is broken. As soon as they get back to these agreed upon lines of the forces, they will likely fortify and get themselves prepared and then be more able to defend themselves. But during this time, it is very vulnerable. It's very tense. And of course, we're also waiting to see these hostages be released. And that is a very tense time as well.
So what are you watching for ahead of the planned hostage release next week?
So I would look for all of the logistics that goes into this. It's very complicated. The International Committee of the Red Cross, they've been given armored personnel carriers by the IDF to be able to move in and get these 20 living hostages and all of the deceased. It's very complicated. At the same time, hundreds, if not thousands, of Palestinian prisoners are going to be released. That has to be orchestrated and essentially to gain trust. So it needs to all happen at the same time. And then, of course, many of these hostages are very much malnutritioned. They need to go directly to medical facilities. So this is a very difficult time, but obviously a very good time for the families of these hostages and Israel and the people in Gaza, which will see a substantial increase in humanitarian assistance.
Mick Mulroy, always great to have you. Thank you.